Originally, what I wanted to do, I wanted to write for video games, but never got to that. I wanted to write for movies, but my parents kind of said, no, you're not going to go to movies. I just decided, you know what? If I'm going to write anything, I'm going to write a book.
I'm just gonna say this right now. For this review, I'm gonna talk about something that I never thought I would actually go and analyze. A book. Yeah, I'm pretty surprised too that I somehow find myself doing a book review. I got a friend who would fit the bill on this job, but the book would require a movie attached to it, so I guess I'm stuck with the responsibility. Anyways, let me start off by saying that what I'll be looking at is not a big New York Times bestseller or a centuries-old classic, but instead, I'll be looking at a little non-fiction book called Small Town, the first novel to be written by Justin Kennan.
I think the way it was is that it was more like a suggestion. The first chapter was written for a school assignment, a college assignment really, and some of my classmates who were reading it said, hey, I want to know more about the barber guy. And later on, I decided, no, I'm going to write about the barber guy. And then I decided, no, I'm going to write about the barber guy's employee. And so on.
When looking into the book, the first thing you'll notice is that it has a rather vague title. I mean, why would you call it just Small Town? Does the town do anything special or something? Funny enough, after reading it, the title serves as the best way to describe the entire book. It's about a small town. As an anthology, each story is completely character-driven, with every chapter looking into one of the residents as the central character. The way it would hop from chapter to chapter is with a smooth transition. Like, one guy will be interacting with this girl in one story, and then for the next story, it will be about the girl. Now, it does happen when a character from a previous chapter will come back later into a new one, and that's where the book finds its unique take on storytelling. The anthology series doesn't connect itself with a similar theme, but rather with this one big story that would happen in this one little town.
West was, I'd say, inspired by two events for me. So you could kind of say that West is me, more or less. Billy was just, I mainly used Billy as a way to get to chapter 5, which is it's honestly the biggest one. That's actually inspired by a real event that happened to my dad when he was a boy. He, my uncle, and my grandpa, they all got stuck on the road, and a snowstorm was starting up, and they had to get out, walk to the road. No cars were there. They had to walk to the highway. They just had to keep walking, and then finally a truck showed up and explained to them that there was an accident down the road, and that's why the car was coming that way. And it was supposed, and the only reason why he's coming down this way was because he was heading down there and got the call saying, no, we don't need you. And Michelle, my dad suggested this story to me one day when we were driving, and honestly, when you're stuck in a car for a long time, you don't have a lot to do.
As I've said before, the book would make it purely about some of the residents. It's not about the town itself or how people would contribute to it. It's a slice-of-life look into some folks that would all have a connection with each other in one way or another. These include Wes, the ex-rocker, Jack, the barber, Oliver, the barber's apprentice, Billy, Oliver's boyfriend, Jonathan, the hunter, Luke, one of Jonathan's sons, Michelle, the sick girl, Sabrina, Michelle's mother, Harold, Oliver's conservative father, and Barbara, the poor single mother. While the large list of main characters would seem rather intimidating and would feel a bit confusing to remember them all, one of the best aspects of the book is that it takes the time to give each character the spotlight. The use of the anthology format cleverly focuses on one individual character at a time that would need good attention to know that they play a key part to this story. There is no one central protagonist in the entire book. They all get a chance to show their point of view in the situation that's in front of them, which results in surprisingly strong use of believable and well-developed characters of all ages, whether they be a 57-year-old barber or a 6-year-old kid. I will say, though, that even as just a little slice-of-life book about people in a small town, this thing can get quite serious. And by that I mean that, in terms of the subject matter that it goes into, oh boy, it ain't for kids, that's for sure. Sure, a book about a small town would prepare you to know about the people that are in it, but it doesn't prepare you for the moments when things get too real. Sure, there are some stories that seem simple enough, like Billy spending time with his boyfriend, Jack trusting his apprentice to run the shop while he goes out on vacation, or Luke does chores at home after getting suspended from school. But others would end up in some pretty heavy subject matter. You have an entire narrative about coming out of the closet to his parents and how one of them can't handle it well, a battle of life and death between a father and his 2 sons against a giant snowstorm in the middle of nowhere, living life knowing it'll end soon because of a terminal cancer, and even grieving the death of your own child and trying to live life days after the funeral. In some ways, it's a dark book where some have to go through some of the hardest moments in life. Don't get me wrong though, I'm not implying that this is a bad thing. In fact, the book does handle it well in a realistic manner. But it's more like a surprising factor that this one little novel can go deep into some serious and arguably depressing themes.
At the time, I wasn't really accepting of gay marriage, but I understood that, look, gay people are here. We need to know, we can't just say, look, our media doesn't have gays, we don't have them. What are gays? No, we have to accept that those are real. We have to accept, and our media needs to let it know that they are real. And I'm glad that they're doing that. I'm kind of happy for Legend of Korra. Well, as I said, the story was suggested by my father when we were talking about it, and as I got into more of this and I wrote on, I'm like, yeah, that's an interesting idea. I want to write about that, see how it goes. I wanted to try, and I know it was not going to really be much of a happy ending. And as for Sabrina, I did want to show the aftermath, the fallout.
But, as a critic, I'm not going to go easy on this and just say that everything is okay with it. When it is your first time doing something, you will fumble upon a few mistakes. Trust me, everybody has done it. Even I have done it when I would go start something big and new and all that kind of stuff, you know? But I will say, if I do have to go and find a major critique about this, is actually the fact that this is a little book. Now, when I would call the novel small, I'm not talking about its popularity or that it didn't sell in the millions. I'm literally referring to the size. The paperback that I have only contains less than 100 pages, with each chapter going from 7 to 11 pages long. Even the font size and everything is like what any other novel would do. I know a lot of avid readers, and I'm pretty sure that they could go from cover to cover here in about, like, an hour or something like that. Even for someone like me, who doesn't always read a book daily in my spare time, I managed to read it all in one afternoon. The reason why I would bring this up is because this would play a big factor for readers if they want to have it or not. The little size would only make it worth it to either rent out or read it entirely at the library instead of fully purchasing it at full price. Well, then again, it's only $6 on Amazon, so you're not spending a whole lot on a kid-sized adult novel.
Oh no, I actually wanted to keep it small. I only planned on doing 10 chapters for the first one. And that's just how the pages filled out.
But you know, maybe it's just me. Maybe there are a lot of books with adult subject matter like this that are actually pretty short. Like, they would have less than 100 pages long. But, you know, honestly, I was just trying to think about who would be best for this book. I mean, it's way too short to satisfy any bookworm out there, and the subject matter is way too heavy for kids. But even with that, it's all on the inside that makes the content really strong here. Small Town is a strong debut for Kennan as an author. His depiction of a little town is filled with realistically believable characters going through tough issues in a well-organized manner. He successfully managed to take the 5 words, "It's about a small town," and gave it a huge meaning to it. Sure, the size of the novel may seem unimpressive for some readers, and some stories may leave a few questions open, but the strong substance makes it forgivable for offering an entire world in less than 100 pages. If you're a fan of non-fiction works and you're up for a quick read, then this one is a good recommendation. I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. It's a small book about a small town that can leave a big impact. Which reminds me actually, how did Justin manage to get out there and publish his first book?
Don't trust traditional publishing. First-time publishers, they are going to mainly ignore. Your best bet is to save up money and look for a self-publishing company. The company I used was Create Space, and I totally trust their work. Though I would always suggest to always check over their edits check over the edits they send you. Like when they even fix them, go over it yourself to make certain that there's nothing they missed. But that would be, yeah. There's my sponsor. There's my unofficial sponsorship, Create Space.
Wow, that's actually some pretty inspiring stuff there. It kind of makes me think about myself, and maybe someday, if I do ever find the courage and time to do so, I would go publish my own book and... What the fridge? Nice try, bud. But you have to do better than that if you want to get a seal.
Dang it! I will let you know, I am willing to do a sequel book, but first, I want to be able to sell 1,000 copies.